Aurora is a widow and mother, living with her daughter Emma in a large house in Houston. Aurora is a strict and often overly anxious woman, especially towards her daughter. Even as a child, Emma faces the control mania of her mother, who even resorts to drastic measures, checking if the child is sleeping, sometimes with excessive anxiety. In this home, the relationship between mother and daughter has not always been easy, but there is a deep love between them that seeps through the entire movie. As Emma grows older, she meets Flap, a young man who becomes her lover. Aurora disapproves of Flap, believing that he is not a good enough partner for her daughter. Despite this, Emma falls in love with Flap and decides to marry him. Aurora reluctantly agrees, and eventually Emma and Flap marry. They move to another city to start their life together, and soon their first child is born. From the very beginning of Emma and Flap's life together, it becomes apparent that they are having financial difficulties. Flap works as a university lecturer and his salary is barely enough to provide for his family. Emma in turn runs the household and takes care of the children. Despite all the difficulties, she tries to stay positive and support her husband. As time passes, 2 more children appear in their family, and the tension between the couple grows. Emma begins to suspect that Flap is cheating on her, but she does not immediately take decisive steps. Parallel to this develops the line of Aurora, who also goes through a number of changes in her life. She lives alone in her house and gradually begins to think about her future. One of her neighbors, Garrett Breedlove, a former astronaut, takes an interest in her. Garrett is a typical womanizer who prefers fleeting affairs without commitment. However, despite his fickleness, Aurora and Garrett start dating. Their relationship is based on mutual respect and deep attraction, even though they are both completely different in personality. Emma, meanwhile, continues to struggle with marital problems. She finds confirmation that Flap is cheating on her with one of his female students. This is a serious blow to her, but she decides not to destroy her family for the sake of her children. One day, however, she meets Sam Bernard, a local banker, who shows a clear interest in her. Their relationship grows closer and they begin to spend time together. Emma feels alive and desirable around Sam, but despite this, she is hesitant to leave Flap. Meanwhile, Emma's health begins to deteriorate. She goes to the doctors and after a series of examinations it turns out that she has cancer. This comes as a shock to everyone, both Emma and her family. Emma tries to stay strong, even though she realizes that her condition is not improving. She talks to Flap about the children's future and they decide that after her death the children will stay with him, although she has doubts about his ability to be a good father. Aurora learns of her daughter's illness and is deeply emotionally disturbed. She immediately decides to be close to Emma and becomes more involved in her life. Their relationship becomes even closer, and Aurora supports her daughter in the most difficult moments. They discuss important issues such as the children's future and her treatment. Aurora also decides to talk to Flap and they have a difficult conversation in which she expresses her dissatisfaction with his behavior and cheating. During this time, Garrett, with whom Aurora has continued to have a relationship, is also changing. He was initially reluctant to make a commitment, but over time he realizes that his feelings for Aurora are much deeper than he thought. He supports her through difficult moments, even though he had previously tried to avoid deep emotional attachments. Garrett decides to be by Aurora's side as she goes through the anguish of her daughter's illness. Emma undergoes treatment, but the disease continues to progress. At the hospital, she meets other patients who are in the same situation. These encounters help her realize her feelings and come to terms with the fact that her life is coming to an end. She decides to spend her last days with her family, especially her children, trying to create as many warm memories for them as possible. Emma realizes that her time is limited and tries to enjoy every moment spent with her loved ones. One day, Emma asks Aurora to talk to the children and explain to them that she is going to die soon. Aurora, though it is hard for her, fulfills her daughter's request. The conversation with the children becomes one of the most touching moments of the movie. They realize that their mother is sick, but they can't fully comprehend that she will soon be gone. Emma tries to prepare them for her death by telling them how much she loves them and how they should remember her. Emma's condition continues to deteriorate and soon she is admitted to the hospital. There her condition becomes critical, and the doctors inform her that she has little time left. Flap and Aurora are by her side for the last few days. Flap, though he cheated on his wife, has deep feelings for her, and his anguish is evident in his every action. He apologizes to Emma, and she forgives him, realizing that the most important thing for her now is to keep peace in the family. Emma's final moments are spent surrounded by those she loves. She says goodbye to her mother, her husband, and her children. This moment becomes the climax of the movie, where the viewer feels the depth of each character's experience. After Emma's death, her children remain with Flap, but Aurora promises to help raise him despite their differences. Aurora is left alone in her home, reflecting on her life and what she has yet to experience. She has lost her daughter, but has found new depth in her relationships with people she may not have appreciated properly before. Garrett, who stayed with her until the end, also leaves, but the viewer realizes that their relationship is not over and has a future.